Good evening, everybody. So, I want to talk about some hypocrisy under the Israeli government and discuss that for tonight's episode. So, right now, Israel has said that all the African uh, migrants or immigrants and even refugees, all of them will be deported back where they came from. They're going to build a border wall to stop them from entering back again or more from entering.
The massive illegal infiltration into Israel from Africa posed a real threat to Israel's future as a Jewish and democratic state. We stopped this threat by building the fence. There remains the problem of those who had already entered before the completion of the fence. These are tens of thousands of illegal infiltrators who entered.
So he said, quote, relocate many refugees into Western nations over a period of 5 years. So basically, we attempted to relocate many refugees into Western nations over a period of 5 years. So I guess we know who to thank for all the rape, thievery, murder, and anti white racism that's going on in Western nations. He also said, we thereby stopped more than 1 million infiltrators from Africa who would have destroyed our country. Listen to that. Destroyed. I want you to remember that word and keep that in mind because I'm going to bring that up later. He also said he wants to surround the entire state of Israel with a fence. But something interesting. So I thought that diversity was a strength. I thought diversity was a beautiful thing. I thought this was enrichment. I thought this was cultural enrichment. Enrichment. That all these foreigners are coming in. Isn't this supposed to make a country better? They're currently building a giant border wall over the whole country, all around it. It's huge, like physically intimidating. And the ADL had something to say about this. It is unrealistic and unacceptable to expect the state of Israel to voluntarily subvert its own sovereignty, existence, and nationalist identity and become a vulnerable minority, what was once its own territory. I thought we white people shouldn't care if they become a minority. Every time anyone complains that white people are becoming a minority, they're racist, they're white supremacists, they're Nazis. That's what they say. That's what liberals say. But here the ADL is saying that becoming a minority is a terrible thing. Who would want to become a minority? Becoming a minority is a terrible thing. Whenever anyone complains about becoming a minority, there's always these people that say, oh, white people becoming a minority, who cares? Who cares if white people become a minority? Well, it appears that Jews certainly care about Jews becoming a minority in Israel. They care a whole lot about that. Here's something that Tucker Carlson had to say about this.
So to the Anti-Defamation League's website sometime if you'd like a glimpse of what an unvarnished conversation about a country's national interest might look like. In a short essay posted to the site, the ADL explains why the state of Israel should not allow more Arabs to become citizens with voting rights. Quote, with historically high birth rates among the Palestinians and a possible influx of Palestinian refugees and their descendants now living around the world, the ADL explains, Jews would quickly become a minority within a binational state, thus likely ending any semblance of equal representation and protections. In this situation, the Jewish population would be increasingly politically and potentially physically vulnerable. In the words of the ADL, why would a government subvert its own sovereign existence?
That's a very good point by the ADL and Israel. Arabs do have a very high birth rate, as do almost all blacks and browns, almost all types of blacks and browns. They have an extremely high birth rate. That's that combined with the fact that white people, well, so that's one of the reasons white people are becoming a minority all over the West. The other reasons are because our borders are being flooded with non-whites, and also because we have all these movements like the sexual revolution movement and feminism that say women shouldn't become mothers, but instead should become sluts and sleep with a bunch of men. And contraceptives are great. Pornography is great. Masturbation is great. So white people aren't having proper sex. So there's a whole lot of reasons why we're becoming a minority in our own home. Why we're becoming a vulnerable minority, what was once its own territory, as the ADL so elegantly put it. I wonder why Israel cares about this. Becoming a minority is great. Being a minority is great. Having your country flooded with blacks and browns is great. Having your country flooded with immigrants and refugees is great. All this stuff is wonderful. All this stuff should be met with applause. This is cultural enrichment. This is going to make a great country greater. This is going to make your country great. Why are they complaining? Well, I think there's a very important lesson we can learn from all of this. When liberals say stuff like, we shouldn't build a wall because that won't actually stop the people from coming in. They'll just carve their way through the wall. They'll cut a hole through the wall. They'll make a door through the wall. They'll dig under the wall. They'll climb over the wall. They'll jump over the wall. Oh, we don't have to have a wall because there's all these mountains and trenches and holes on the border. So given the geography, there's no need for a wall. Or they'll say, oh, it's no big deal having more ethnic minorities come in. It's no big deal having a bunch of brown people flooded into your country. It's no big deal having lots of brown people you know nothing about come in your country. When they say that, they're not misinformed. They're not ignorant, well, they are, but they're not saying that because they're ignorant. They're simply lying. They're lying through their teeth. They're not, they don't actually believe any of that, because as we can see, these liberals, they understand that all of that stuff is terrible, and they understand that building a wall is a great way to stop this stuff from happening. It's a wall for me, no wall for thee, no diversity for me, diversity for thee, no immigrants for me, immigrants for thee, no flooding, no browning of the country for me, browning of your country for thee. And this isn't just a problem with liberals, by the way. This also we also struggle with this in the conservative movement as well. For example, you see this with Ben Shapiro, for example, and also with PragerU. They also do this on PragerU. But particularly if we think about Ben Shapiro has said that if you are worried about the browning of America, that you're a white supremacist, white nationalist, racist Nazi. But yet he certainly cares about the browning of Israel. He doesn't care about the browning of America, the browning of Europe, but he cares a whole lot about the browning of Israel. He's admitted that Palestinians are going to be terrible for Israel. There's this tweet that went viral he posted out where he said, Jews build great things, Arabs destroy great things. Or I can't remember the exact quote, but I'm paraphrasing. But that is the gist of it. He also said, oh, Jews do wonderful things and do great things, while Palestinians and Arabs live in their own filth and live in their own excrement and have open sewers. He said all this stuff. So, but yet he doesn't care about the browning of America or the browning of Europe, or at least he says he doesn't care. Perhaps he likes it and he enjoys it, but he pretends that he's empathetic to it to cover up something or seem more sympathetic to his white audience and his white fan base, his white Patreon donators. So I think you should remember this. Remember what I've said, and remember it when you hear liberals say stuff like, why should we care about white people becoming a minority? There's nothing wrong with being a minority. Or building a wall would be a waste of money, because if you build a wall, they'll find a way to get over it, and they will be able to get over it. Or building a wall won't even change anything because the geography prevents them from getting into America in the first place. So building a wall wouldn't accomplish anything. Or having your country being like browning of America, browning of Europe, these are great things. And having your country flooded with blacks and browns, people from, third world countries, this is a great thing. This is a beautiful thing. This is cultural enrichment. They won't make the country worse. So just know they're not misinformed. They aren't saying this because they believe these things. They're saying these things because they're liars, and they want to destroy the white people. They're saying this because they hate white people, and they want to destroy white people. It's quite simple. They, as you can see, they understand that having a country be flooded with blacks and browns is terrible for the country. They understand that having it be flooded with immigrants from third world countries is a terrible thing. They understand that having racial diversity is a terrible thing. They understand that having border walls is a great way to fix these problems. So they know this is true, but they're putting in policies that are the opposite of that, because they're doing what they know is true to hurt white people and to hurt white nations and to hurt white culture, because they hate white people and they want to destroy white people. They want to destroy the West because they don't like the race of the people that inhabit it. You see, the hypocrisy on Israel is absolutely obscene. This is liberal hypocrisy, just to the farthest extreme imaginable, Zionist hypocrisy, whatever you want to call it. A lot of the reason Europe is being flooded with blacks and browns so much is because of Israeli NGOs. These Israeli NGOs will pick up boats full of migrants and drop them off in Europe, ones that are lost at sea. So they're responsible. Israel is generally responsible in a large part to the fact that Europe is being flooded with blacks and browns, but yet they won't let that happen to their own country. When Donald Trump introduced the Muslim ban, probably the biggest group that did big things to stop that were the Jews. Because there were all these rabbis that would sign bills to stop the Muslim ban and let Muslims in, but a lot of those same rabbis would not let Muslims into Israel. So just remember, liberals know that border walls work, and they know that all this immigration stuff is terrible. They just want terrible things for white people, and they want to take away good things from white people. And that'll be it for tonight. I'll see you later.